What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I know I kept saying that I'm going to bring the series back, and I have the other videos, but I just feel like it's too late to upload them now, so I'm going to start again now. This will be up before the Liverpool-Chelsea game, because that is the first game of game week 21. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. These two teams are atrocious, honestly. You know, Liverpool defensively are awful. It's so easy to split them open. Chelsea can't really go forward, even at the back they're not very good. It's why they're both mid-table and below the likes of Brentford and Fulham. Chelsea have signed a lot of players, so I'm not really sure that they need. I mean, they probably do need a striker, which they haven't really got because Aubameyang's not very good and Broja's injured for a long time. Havertz ain't a striker. He's not anything. I don't know why he's still there. He's awful. João Felix is a better version of Havertz, I would say. A much better version, by the way. But he isn't a striker either. He's sort of, you know, maybe a second striker or a deep line forward or something maybe, but certainly not who I would consider a number 9. And with Liverpool, you know, defensively they've looked awful. Gakpo's come in. He hasn't really had enough game time, I don't think, to warrant any sort of judgment on how he's going to be in the Premier League. Nunes still ain't scoring anywhere near enough. He's missing away too many big chances. Overall, that team is just not looking very good. But neither is Chelsea, so I think they'll share a 1-1 draw. Bournemouth against Nottingham Forest. In the reverse game of this fixture, Nottingham Forest were 2-0 up and then bottled it at home and lost 3-2. I think Bournemouth will do the double. I think they'll win 2-1. I think they need the win more than Forest do, which is a sentence that a few weeks ago would probably not have come out of my mouth because Forest were looking awful. They've certainly pulled it back. But with what at stake for Bournemouth here, you know, they're looking more and more likely to be in a relegation scrap now. You know, they're probably going to go down if they don't get results in these sort of games, especially at home. I think that they know that. They know, you know, that although their squad is probably on paper the weakest in the whole league, they've put themselves in a position where they could avoid relegation and then to keep going. Against Brentford, I thought they were very hard done by. I thought the penalty on Tony was a ridiculous decision. A foul in my opinion. You know, Tony grabbed the defender, who then grabbed him back, and he went down. It's not a penalty. And overall, I thought, you know, they had a lot of the ball, probably maybe slightly better, but yeah, you know, in this sort of game, I think they need a win, and I think they'll get the win. Leicester City against Brighton. I've gone with the 1-1 draw. Brighton have been very impressive this season. Leicester's still not very safe. They're still just above relegation. You know, they're below Forest, I think, now. So, you know, it's a game that they need to at least get a point from Brighton's point of view. Obviously, they're fighting for Europe. They're doing really well. But they have just lost Leandro Trossard, who I think a lot of people would say has been their key player this season. Obviously, you've got other great players like McAllister. He's been insane. Solly March has been very underrated, I feel. But, you know, Trossard is a really, really good technical player. He's gone to Arsenal. You know, supposedly him and the manager haven't talked for ages. I think they'll really miss him. I really do, you know. And in this sort of game, you know, Leicester, again, similar to Bournemouth, maybe not on quite an extreme scale because they are slightly above them. They have a much stronger squad. You know, Maddison will be coming back soon. And, you know, they're facing a high level of opposition, but I do think that they need to get at least a point here. I do think they'll get it. For Brighton, I do think they might see this as a missed opportunity if they don't get all 3. They absolutely battered Leicester in the reverse game. I think it was like 5-2 or something, where Trossard was really good. McAllister scored a screamer that got disallowed. Back when Danny Ward did not even look like a professional goalkeeper, let alone a Premier League level goalkeeper. He's turned it around a lot since, but yeah, you know, that Leicester defence always has a mistake in them. It's, you know, we'll have to see, will Brighton be able to exploit it? Southampton against Aston Villa. Southampton have been awful this season, you know, especially since Nathan Jones is coming. They did beat Everton the other day, or a week ago, which was I thought a really good result. But they're still very, very much a relegation candidate. I think they'll go down, but Villa, on the other hand, have turned it around since Unai Emery has come in. They're now in mid-table. They have lost Danny Ings to Claret and Blue rivals West Ham, but I do think they have enough quality to get the dub here. I'm going with a 2-1 Villa win. Yeah, you know, I think Southampton do need to win here. I don't think they'll be able to. You know, Nathan Jones has already lost the fans. He's probably lost the dressing room, or even if he hasn't, he'll lose them soon. Doesn't really seem connected with the club. You know, he's definitely trying to keep himself in a separate box to the rest of the club. And yeah, you know, just not really. Southampton just aren't really a good team. You know, Adam Armstrong needs to get more game time, in my opinion. I know he hasn't done a lot, but I do think he's better than Che Adams. If you don't want to start him, Southampton, by the way, we'll happily take him. I'd take him at QPR. I know we've got Lowen now, but I'll take another one. Like, you know, but you know, Southampton do need to get results. And in this sort of game against Villa, who now aren't really under any relegation threat, it is an opportunity for them to get a result because, like I said, you know, Southampton know they need to win more games, and especially at home, you know. And with Villa probably going to take their foot off the gas a bit because they're doing well now. They're probably not going to get Europe. I don't think it's too late for that now. But they're also not going to get relegated. They can just relax, really. They're not going to be going at 120% like Southampton should be. And if they do that, you can see them getting a result. But I just don't think there's a lot of quality other than obviously James Ward-Prowse, who's phenomenal. If Southampton go down, by the way, he's, you know, a European Tottenham, for example, or Liverpool, you know, he'd be perfect there. He's such a good player. West Ham against Everton, a massive game down at the bottom end of the table. Both of these teams have been awful this season. You know, I think more so unexpected for West Ham because they're in Europe. They did really well last season and the year before that. They've signed a decent amount of players. You know, with Danny Ings coming in, they have 3 good strikers: Danny Ings, Gamaka, and Antonio. I do think they'll win here. I think they need to win here, 2-1. If they do lose here, I think it is the end for David Moyes. You know, he's given a lot for that club. He's turned them around completely. When he came in, they were a club with really no vision. They were fighting for survival every season. He came in, took them to the Europa League semi-final. Then last year, almost got them back into the Europa League. But they qualified for Conference League this year. They're doing well in that, but I think anyone would say, you know, Premier League is much more important than the Conference League. A loss to Everton at home would be detrimental for David Moyes' career. I think if he was to lose that, you know, it's really poor. But in the same situation for Frank Lampard, this is a game that Everton can look at and say, well, West Ham are in a similar position to us. They're doing really poorly. This might be a game we can get something in. And I think they will need to get something here. You know, even if they don't get something, I don't think it would be the end of the road for Frank Lampard because, to be honest, overall that squad isn't very good. You know, you've got some decent players, but the likes of Calvert-Lewin's always injured. Pickford's a decent goalkeeper, but his defence in front of him is awful. The fans and the players just don't seem to get along at all. It's a really nasty atmosphere there. You know, it's really toxic, and I do think Everton are going to go down. You know, I don't really see how this relationship can really be salvaged. You know, maybe a new ownership would change that. And the PSG owners are looking to buy shares in an English club. Everton could be that club. We'll have to wait and see. Crystal Palace against Newcastle. In the reverse game at St James's Park, Newcastle were robbed of the victory because supposedly Joe Willock fouled the goalkeeper, even though he was pushed into the keeper. And that's why he couldn't stop his body there. I think they'll get the dub here. Palace aren't really on a good run of form at all. You know, they got a good point against United the other day. A really good performance. I was impressed. Elise with a fantastic free kick. Eze did decent when he came on as well. You know, our boy. Newcastle just have too much quality for me. Although they also haven't been as sharp as they had been in previous months. You know, they won like a 6-7 game winning run. Was stopped by Leeds in a draw, and then obviously drew with Arsenal, which I think is a really good result. Just about beat Fulham last week through a Isaac and Wilson link-up in the last minute. Although that could have gone really differently if Mitrovic had scored his penalty. You know, Eddie Howe's done really well with that team. Newcastle have done really well this season. I don't think anyone expected them to be this high, this early. As I've said multiple times, you know, I think Eddie Howe is the best manager in the league. And I do see him winning. I think, you know, Palace have had a hard run. You know, they've played Chelsea. They've obviously played United the other day. They played Tottenham as well. Now they're going to play Newcastle. It's really tough for them. So that's just how it happens sometimes. They've had an easy run early in the season, which is why they're having a harder run now. They'll probably have another easier run coming. I think Palace won't be caught in a relegation scrap. They'll be mid-table, which is where they are right now. Games like this, they aren't expected to win. And for Newcastle, a win here would keep their very slim title hopes alive. It would definitely strengthen their top 4 aspirations, because Tottenham look awful. Yeah, they lost to Arsenal last week, where they did not play well at all. They bottled a 2-0 lead at the Etihad, where the players just couldn't even kick a ball properly. Like, they couldn't make a 5-yard pass. They couldn't get the ball out of their feet. It was horrible, man. And yeah, with Man United dropping points, that obviously, boosted Newcastle there as well. So yeah, I think they'll win here. Leeds United against Brentford. Now, this is controversial, but I do think Leeds win. I was torn between a 1-1 draw or 2-1 Leeds win. I have gone with the 2-1 Leeds win. And this is just mainly because I've actually been really impressed by Leeds. Against Aston Villa, they were by far the better team. Really unlucky to lose that. Gnotto, that young Italian winger, he is so good, man. He is ridiculous. He's really direct, really fast, great at dribbling, makes things happen. If they had Somerville playing as well, wow, them two together, it would be ridiculous. If they can keep them together, when Somerville's back from injury, that's going to be a disgusting link. It'll be like the old FIFA days, man, where you got 2 5-star skillets. It'll be great to watch. They'll be that team that probably has a 6-5 game every week. Although I do feel like Leeds can be wasteful with the chances. I don't think Bamford is great. I think his injury, he's definitely taken multiple steps backwards in terms of ability. I think Gelhardt needs to start more now. I think he's getting to an age where he should be getting more minutes. He's performed, reasonably well when he has been given minutes. And, Rodrigo, he's hit and miss. Some weeks where he's really good, some weeks where he just goes... he'll go through a spell where he scores in 4 games in a row, and then he'll go missing for 10 games. And I think Leeds definitely need more consistency. They need to tighten up at the back, without a doubt. I think Melli is a decent level goalkeeper, but he concedes a lot of goals because his defence just, half-time, doesn't even exist. On to Brentford, though, against Bournemouth, I wasn't really that impressed by them. If I'm going to be honest, I have been critical of Brentford, obviously, because I don't like them, but they've done a lot better than I expected this season. I'm not going to take that away from them. They've been a lot better than I thought they'd be in a lot of games, especially against Man United when they're bad, then when they beat Liverpool really comfortably. I don't know, I just have a feeling they're going to lose. Maybe it's just because I don't like them. It could be that, but I do think they'll lose it. Manchester City against Wolverhampton Wanderers, I'm going with a 5-0 City win. City have not impressed me at all this season, except at the start when Haaland was scoring a hat-trick in every game. But overall, I've said this so many times, they're easy to play against, they're predictable, and if you find the formula to beat them, which is just press them, get the ball, and they can't defend, you'll win games against them. And teams have shown that this season. They've dropped points in games they shouldn't have. Tottenham should have done it the other day. I don't know, they just bottled it. In the Manchester derby, they lost that. I think when Arsenal play them, Arsenal will win at least one of the 2 games. I don't see them losing either of them. If I'm gonna be honest, I just don't. And yeah, I think Wolves are. I've said this again multiple times. I think Wolves are an awful team. I hope they go down. I just don't like them. I'm going with a 5-0 City win. Wolves have looked a little bit better since the new manager's come in. I still don't think they play good enough football. They spent a lot of money again, signed some big name players again. They should not be anywhere near this bad, but the way that club is run is awful. I do think investigations need to be held into potential corruption going on there. City 5-0 win, easy. Haaland hat-trick hopefully, because I'm going to triple captain him. Massive game here, Arsenal, Manchester United. 3-1 Arsenal win. I think they'll avenge what happened to them at Old Trafford. I've been really impressed by them. Every single game, even with Jesus being injured, and Nketiah's coming, he's looked really good. They're playing with the same philosophy. They're attacking, they defend high, they defend well, good tempo. They're always looking to go forward. A very young squad. And big news of Casemiro missing the game because he got a yellow card against Palace and now has picked up too many this season. What an L that day was for United fans, man. Like, not only did he get suspended for this game, they didn't even win the match. Even in the reverse game at Old Trafford, United were very good at hitting Arsenal on the break. And I think at the Emirates, Arsenal will be able to take the lead early, which they weren't able to do at Old Trafford because it was disallowed. Questionably disallowed. I personally did think it was a foul, but everyone seems outraged by it, which is kind of weird because usually everyone hates Arsenal. But yeah, I think they'll get an early lead and then it'll just be routine for them from there. They've been really good against all the big teams this season. They beat Liverpool, they've beaten Tottenham twice. Obviously they did lose to United and they drew with Newcastle. Both games I thought they were the better team. Beat Chelsea at the Bridge. They're a really, really tough side, Arsenal, and you know what? It's good to see another team competing up there because if City were just almost making it their own league, but yeah, it would be good to see Arsenal win the league, and I do think they'll go on to win it. And the final game of the game week, Fulham against Tottenham. I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw, but I could see Fulham winning it. I don't think Tottenham win it, if I'm going to be honest. They don't. Yeah, I've been so unimpressed by them, man. They look so untechnical on the ball, clunky. But look like they're in a panic. Whereas Fulham are the complete opposite. They go forward a lot. They look good. They look competitive and all that. And I don't like saying this. And it's all similar to the Brentford situation where they're doing a lot better than I thought they would. I put them to do better than most people thought they would do, but with the difference between them and Brentford is I think that Fulham have played better more often than Brentford have. And at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I thought Fulham were unlucky to lose. They've impressed me against the bigger sides this season as well, although they haven't got many points. I do think that this is a game where Mitrovic will probably score. And yeah, I don't think that they'll be able to win it because Tottenham have a Harry Kane who will just score out of nothing. But I think they could be the better team here. I genuinely think they might be the better team. I'd love to see him lose. Sorry, Dan, my mate Dan's a Fulham fan, but yeah, I do think it'll be a good game. Fulham have been really impressive to watch this season, and I'm going with a 2-2 draw. Those are my predictions. Thank you for watching. Leave yours in the comments, and I'll see you soon.